The ballroom shimmered under golden chandeliers, laughter echoing against the high ceilings as glasses clinked with champagne. Billionaire Robert Hensley was in his element. To him, the gala wasn't about charity, it was about power. A chance to remind the world that he, the man who built an empire from steel and finance, was untouchable. He leaned back in his leather chair, cigar smoldering between his fingers, and smirked at the circle of wealthy elites who hung on his every word. Money, he said, blowing a slow stream of smoke, isn't just power, it's the game itself. People think talent, grit, or kindness win. But no money wins every time. A ripple of agreement circled the table, though a few guests laughed nervously. Robert enjoyed being provocative. He thrived on it. At the edge of the room, unnoticed, waiters shuffled between the guests with trays of hors d'oeuvres. Among them was Maria Alvarez, the maid who'd worked in Robert's mansion for years. She was in her early 40s, worn from endless shifts, yet carried a quiet dignity that couldn't be diminished. Tonight, she had been asked to assist the catering team. What Robert didn't know was that Maria's 17-year-old daughter, Elena, had come along to help as well. Dressed in a simple black server's uniform, Elena moved carefully between the tables, balancing glasses, her dark eyes absorbing everything. Unlike most of the staff, she listened, she noticed. Robert slammed his glass on the table suddenly. "Tell you what," he declared, his voice booming across the hall. "Win this." He pointed to the giant chessboard set in the corner of the ballroom, an antique from Russia worth $500,000 itself. "And I'll give you $100 million, straight, tonight." The room erupted in laughter. Robert, a fellow billionaire, chuckled. "You can't be serious." "Oh, I am," Robert sneered. "But none of you can beat me. Not here. Not in my house. Not in my game." He had been a state champion in his youth, and chess was his favorite demonstration of intellect. No one dared challenge him anymore. He humiliated them. That was the point. Elena froze by the doorway, tray in hand. Chess. The word struck her like a spark. Her late father, a quiet man who once drove trucks before cancer took him, had taught her every move, every strategy. Some of her fondest memories were nights at the kitchen table, worn board between them, as he whispered, "Chess is life, Mija. You protect the weak, you sacrifice when you must, and you always see the whole board." Robert stood tall, striding to the chess set. "Come on, anyone. Who dares? $100 million. No one moved. The wealthy men and women chuckled but shook their heads. They knew better than to hand him an ego boost at their expense. Then, from the silence, a voice spoke, "I'll play." Every head turned. Elena set down her tray and stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly but her eyes steady. She looked impossibly small in the cavernous hall, a teenager standing against titans of industry. Robert blinked, then burst into laughter. "You? A maid's daughter?" Gasps fluttered through the crowd. Maria's face turned pale, and she hurried forward. "Elena, no, please." But Elena didn't flinch. "You said anyone, didn't you?" The room buzzed. Some guests whispered in excitement, others in disapproval. Robert's smirk widened. "Well then," he said, amused. "Why not? This will be quick." They sat across from each other. Robert waved theatrically for the first move, ladies first. The pieces clicked softly as the game began. At first, Robert barely paid attention. He played with arrogance, glancing at the crowd, sipping his drink. But soon, his brow furrowed. Elena's moves were precise, purposeful. She anticipated his traps and turned them into counters. The murmurs around them grew. "She's good," someone whispered. Robert's hand tightened around his knight. For the first time in years, he felt pressed. She was no ordinary amateur. Every move she made was like a mirror to his own strategies, but sharper, faster. "Who taught you?" he muttered. "My father," Elena said softly. "He told me kings fall when they forget their pawns matter." The line hit him like a dart, though he brushed it off with a scoff. Still, beads of sweat formed on his temple. Minutes stretched into an hour. The once bored crowd now pressed close, hanging on every shift of the board. Billionaires, socialites, and journalists. All watching a maid's daughter take the great Robert Hensley to the edge. Finally, Elena leaned forward. Calm, steady, checkmate. The word rang through the silence like a bell. The ballroom erupted. Some gasped, some cheered, Others clapped in disbelief. Maria covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Robert stared at the board, stunned. His king was cornered, his empire toppled in 27 moves. "You," he whispered, his face pale. The promise hung in the air, $100 million. The crowd turned to him, expectant. For the first time in his life, Robert felt the weight of being trapped. The girl had outplayed him not just on the board, but before the world. His word, his ego, his reputation, all balanced on the edge of honor. With shaking hands, he rose. "You'll have your money." But Elena shook her head. "I don't want your money." The room fell silent again. Robert blinked. "What?" Elena's voice was steady, though her eyes glistened. "I want scholarships. For kids like me. For children of workers, maids, drivers, cooks. People who never get chances because the game is rigged against them. Use that 100 million to build something that lasts." The silence deepened. Even the clinking glasses stopped. For once, Robert had no witty remark. He felt something twist in his chest, a strange, foreign sting. Shame. The girl hadn't just beaten him at chess, she'd exposed everything hollow about his power. Applause began softly at first, then grew louder, sweeping the hall. Not for him. For her. For the maid's daughter who walked into a lion's den and changed the game. Robert lowered himself back into the chair, staring at the board. The crowd's cheers blurred into a hum as he realized the truth. A pawn had just humbled a king. And for the first time in his empire's history, Robert Hensley wondered if maybe, just maybe, the real game wasn't about money after all.